Okay, so this morning's first speaker is a phenomena. Demonstrating what you can do if you're really determined to do it, Victoria Beckham has managed not only to be part of one of the most popular bands of our age, but to launch her own hugely successful clothing line. We all know there have been very, very many celebrity fashion lines, and most of them have been relatively short-lived. In Victoria's case, her business is growing every season, and there are very few who would dare say that it is not a really serious business now. I met Victoria when I first decided to put her on the cover of the magazine in 2008, and I remember how funny and disarming she was then, even managing to have a sense of humour about the fact that although she was trying to establish herself as a serious designer, she was required to wear a kind of gold lame mini toga at the O2 for a Spice Girls reunion, not the look she was trying to sell. Married to one of the best-looking men in the universe and a mother of 4, as well as a successful designer, she is definitely out of this world. Can I also ask you all to take seriously the request not to video or photograph during this talk? If we see anyone, I'm afraid we will have to ask you to leave the auditorium, and we really don't want to have to do that. So, with no more ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Victoria Beckham.
Wow. A lot of people want to hear me talk. I hope I'm going to say something good now.
Yeah, we're banking on it, literally.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for coming. Thank you.
So, just starting off, Victoria, with a sort of very, very obvious question.
Yeah.
What gives you the initial idea for one of your collections?
You know, each season I can get inspired by something different. I'm fortunate to travel a lot, be able to call London my home as well as Los Angeles. So last winter, for example, my Victoria line was inspired by the Californian lifestyle, and you can see that in the prints and the structure of the dresses. Whereas the main line was inspired purely from one day, Romeo ran in from school and he was wearing a baseball shirt. And I thought, that looks really cool. And so I had a baseball theme running through the ready-to-wear collection. And I showed beanie hats that was inspired by David and him wearing a beanie hat. So I get inspired from travelling and also being at home and being a wife and a mother.
Now you're in London, we can look forward to lots of kind of grey, gloomy...
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that, you know, living in London is very, very different from LA, but it's great, it's inspiring. London is such an inspiring place to live. So multicultural, it's interesting. Yeah, I'm happy.
So, as everybody knows now, to be a proper designer, you basically have to manage a team. How do you convey what you want to your team? Do you have a kind of initial briefing session, or how does that work?
At the start of every season, I sit down with my team and I talk about what I like, what I don't like, what I want to wear myself, because ultimately I'm designing clothes that I want to wear myself. What I often do is look at things that I don't normally wear, and things that maybe I find a little bit challenging, and I might have that as a starting point and find a way for me to like it. You know, I want to challenge myself fashion-wise each season. I want to push myself and do something new, but it's all about communication. I have such a great team. I'm so lucky to have them, and we're all very close, and we just sit down and we're open and we talk, and then I normally, you know, get naked and make clothes on myself. You know, that's pretty much how it works.
Obviously, that kind of desire to challenge yourself is something that you've got inbuilt, whether it be challenging yourself to design clothes that maybe aren't what you thought you liked, challenging yourself to become a designer when you'd never done it. When do you think that first started, having that? Do you think you've always been like that?
I've always dreamt of being in the fashion industry. It's what I've always felt in my tummy like I had to do. Before I started on my own line, I was working with a denim brand, designing for them. I worked for a sunglasses brand. So I was dipping my toe in the industry for a while before I was in a position to be able to take the licensing deals and bring them in-house and fund everything myself. It's self-funding, so I don't have any licensing deals at all. So when I was in a position to be able to do that, that's when it felt right to do that.
And what do you look for in your team, in all the people that you work with? What do you think are the key attributes? I mean, obviously you need different things from different people, but are there things that make you sort of instantly relate to a person?
I mean, my team is so great. We're a small team, but we're growing, and they're all incredibly talented, passionate, focused. I also think it's important to enjoy the people that you're working with as well. We have a lot of fun every day, but they're passionate. They love what they do. They believe in my brand and what I'm creating. And I have the same team that I had when I first started over 6 years ago. And I really encourage my team to grow with me as I grow as a brand as well. Yes, I bring in a few new people, but it's about giving people that work with me the opportunity to grow within the company as well. I have a few people that started out with me as interns that now have, you know, high-up jobs in marketing, press, and sales as well. So it's a really nice family atmosphere at work.
And it must be different now, because I remember when, I don't know, I guess it must have been about a year or so, we were talking, and you were talking about talking to them on Skype, and you know, it being the morning in London where they were, and no, morning for you, evening in London. And to now be able to actually work person to person must be a quite different experience.
It's great. I mean, I'm very, very hands-on with every aspect of the business. I never did as much Skype as it came across. You know, every time I did an interview after I'd said I have the odd call on Skype, everybody thought that that's how I designed all my collections, was via Skype. It was never that way. I did a lot of traveling, which was difficult because I don't want to leave my children. I mean, that's, as you know, being a working mum, you feel guilty every time you go out of the door and you have to work. But it's definitely great that I'm here in London. I can go into the studio every day, which is just over the bridge in Battersea. It's great that I'm here all the time because I have a lot of categories now. I have 5 categories. I've also just launched e-commerce. I'm looking into retail. So there's a lot of balls that I'm juggling at the moment. So it's definitely a lot easier being here in London.
Do you see any link at all between being a performer and designing, or do you think they're different sides of a personality?
I think they're different sides of a personality. I mean, I suppose there might be a little bit, but for me, not so much.
Okay, so when did you think, I know you'd always wanted to be involved in fashion, but when did you think that it was a real possibility that you could do it?
Goodness, when was that? I don't think there was one particular moment. It's what I always wanted to do. So it would be hard to find one particular moment. But I did a presentation, actually. I don't know if the audience know, but when I first started, so 10 seasons ago, I had a room at a hotel in New York. And I did sometimes one-on-one presentations. Sometimes it was a group of people, sometimes it was one-on-one. And I did that for 4 days to fashion press, buyers, and I literally would talk through the collection. I had 10 dresses, and I'd sit there and I'd talk about the dress, and the dress would come in on a model, and I'd unzip the dress and talk about the corsetry and the inspiration and the fabrics. Sometimes I'd be talking for hours on end to people that didn't actually even speak English, though they were foreign retailers, but I just like to talk. So I'd be talking away and really wanted people to understand the concept, really, and understand what I was doing. And I remember it was 3 o'clock in the morning the night before the show, and I was standing there was a florist actually in the hotel, and I was standing there in my slippers trying to decide on the flowers. You know, I didn't have a stylist or great hair and makeup. Things have come such a long way since those days. But I think right at the beginning, I didn't know what people were going to think. You know, there was a lot of raised eyebrows or those that could raise their eyebrows, where, you know, when they'd heard I was going to do this, you know, a pop star who's married to a footballer really going to do a clothing line. You know, a lot of people had preconceptions, and I didn't go out to prove anybody wrong. I just wanted to prove to myself that I could do it.
No, I think at those presentations, actually, I mean, you'd never get Karl Lagerfeld showing you the inside seam and exactly how something was bonded to something. I mean, Victoria was so determined to show us that she actually knew what was going on, which was pretty impressive at the time.
I mean, I was proud of it. I mean, I didn't go to prove to anybody, you know, I know the ins and outs of this dress. I genuinely did, and I never set out to sit and talk through the collections. That just happened naturally because I was doing it for 4 days, and it just came natural to me. And I'm sure people would just think, shut up, you know, stop going on about a bloody grosgrain waistband. But for me, it was important to do that.
Okay, and the show, when you moved from doing the presentation to the show, what drove you to do a show? Because it's complicated, it's time-consuming, it's expensive. What to you is the importance of the show? You
know, for me, I have 8 minutes to show the industry, the buyers, the press, my customer, what my fashion message is that season. And so it's important for me to do a show. I've gone from small presentations to what is now a big show, though I still like to keep it as personal as I can. And it's great. Like I said, I have 8 minutes. It is incredibly expensive. The pressure's on. I get the opportunity to collaborate with the best people in the industry with regards to the styling and the hair and the makeup. Such a lot of thought and time and effort goes into that 8 minutes. I think people would be quite shocked. The conversations that I have for days on end, with months on end actually, with regards to the set, the lighting, the music, the hair and the makeup and the styling. Ever such a lot goes into that, and I love it. It's exciting. I mean, there's a lot of pressure, and it's incredibly expensive. So you do feel the pressure, but it's fun as well. I love it. And it's a great kind of marketing tool to have as well. I mean, as everybody came in, they could see your show there. So it's great to have that record that you can. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I like people to see my collection through my eyes. And I have 8 minutes to do that. And I'm a perfectionist. I like everything to be right. I'm probably a complete pain in the neck to work with because it's really important to me. This really is. I mean, I've grown this brand from nothing to where it is now. The girls in your show are always quite kind of androgynous. They're very much not a kind of obviously sexy-looking girl. Why is that? I sit down with Russell Marsh, who is the most fantastic casting director every season, and with Joe McKenna, my stylist, we talk about who our girl is for this season. And I'm not saying that I would never use somebody who's much more sexy, but at the moment, that's not really the look that I'm going for. I like somebody that has a lot of character, somebody that is a little androgynous, someone that looks really cool, but still very expensive at the same time. And each season, I am able to use a better girl. When I looked at the girls that I worked with my first season, I mean, they were great models, but they're not the calibre of model that I can use now. And that's really exciting for me to see the best models in the industry wearing my clothes. That's really exciting. I'm still really excited about what I'm doing. And I think people can see that and feel that, which is why it feels so believable what I'm doing. And big question, would you ever show in London? I'd never say never. Not good enough. I want a yes. You sound like Natalie Massenet. Maybe one day, but at the moment I have a really good thing going in New York. I get a great slot in the Fashion Week. The Americans have made me feel so welcome. The American fashion industry have been very supportive. America is a huge market for me, a very successful market. But I'd never say never. I'm so proud to be British, and I love to support the British fashion industry, doing whatever I can, and I'm very proud. But maybe one day, I'm sure at some point. Good. And how
How involved are you in the financial logistics of creating a line? I mean, do you get given a budget to work to? How much do you know about all of that area, which is such a big thing?
Yeah, I'm very aware of everything that goes on with the brand, and I like to be creative, but at the same time I am running a business. So I have what I call almost two parts of my collection. I have what I call my signature part of the collection, which is something that I know my customer really wants. It might be a fitted dress, something that is very Victoria Beckham. But then I also like to push myself and have a very strong fashion message as well. But I do have to take into account that I'm running a business. I'm very aware of how much the fabrics cost, how much the make costs. If I decide to put an extra pocket detail on something, I know that's going to cost more money. So how much is it going to then cost in the shop? So I'm very, very aware of every single aspect, really. And yes, I like to be creative, but I'm also running a business that I would like to still be here in 20 years' time. So I have my sensible business head on as well.
Victoria, how do you deal with criticism?
I think that I can learn from constructive criticism. You know, no one's going to be nice all the time. It just wouldn't be realistic to think that you're never going to get any criticism. So I welcome constructive criticism. There's a lot of members of the fashion press that have been incredibly supportive to me and have come on this journey with me. You know, I haven't done all of this myself. I do have a great team, small team, and and members of the fashion press that each season support me. But I get constructive criticism and I learn from that and I welcome it.
Do you not get, most people get, like, if somebody says something awful about them, they just kind of like, I hate them, I never want to see them again, you know. Do you not have that feeling, or are you really able to rise above that? Or do you have a moment?
I mean, I'd love everybody to be nice all the time, but that's just not realistic. So I like to learn from what people write. I mean, people have been incredibly supportive, and like I said, they've come on this journey with me. But my reviews get stronger and stronger each season. But at the same time, people are real, and I want to better myself as well.
But you are in a quite unusual position whereby when people are talking about your work, they're also talking about you in a way that they aren't with people who aren't so famous. Do you sometimes get frustrated by that? I mean, I know that actually you have been able to a very successful degree get the two separated, but there is still quite a big crossover.
I mean, right at the beginning, I was so aware of preconceptions. And I think there's less of that now. Certainly, people are judging. They're judging the collection for the collection. They did that right at the beginning, and that's what I was really grateful to the industry for. They came into the room, the very first presentation, and they were judging the clothes for the clothes. They left their preconceptions at the door. And actually, I had that conversation with Marc Jacobs not so long ago, and he actually said, "You've got to stop saying that, because they didn't. They did not leave their preconceptions at the door. The clothes spoke for themselves, and you earned what they said about the collection." But, you know, I'm very aware of it, and I think it's less and less now. It really is. The product's speaking for itself. The clothes are selling. The retailers are happy. The brand is growing. The categories are growing, and people can't argue with that.
And I see that now you're much more comfortable about very obviously wearing other designers as well as yourself. So although you are the best advertisement for your own clothes, you're not concerned about wearing other people. I think you're wearing yourself today,
This is one of mine today. I mean, I love to mix it up. You know, I love fashion. I enjoy fashion. You know, I love Prada, I love Balenciaga, I love Lanvin. There are so many incredible designers that I want to wear because I enjoy wearing them, but also I like to support other designers as well. There's lots of fantastic British designers that I like to support. There's lots of women as well at the moment that are doing great things in fashion. When you look at Phoebe for Celine and Stella and Frida, there are so many strong women out there. And I love clothes.
So, how do you get dressed in the morning? What's your kind of starting point?
Well, I put one foot in, then I put the other foot in. You know, I've got 4 kids, one of who, everybody, Brooklyn is here today actually, sitting here watching Mummy realise that Mummy actually has a job now. haven't you? Okay, he's realising that I actually do something. I've got 4 kids, so I don't have as much time as maybe I would like in the morning to think about what I'm going to wear. So I just, when I'm going to sleep at night, I'm very much a visual person.
So you think about what you're going to wear the next day?
I think about what I'm going to wear the next day. And it's interesting, I was having this conversation with David the other day. He does the same thing about football. He does, but you know, I also had the same conversation with Gordon Ramsay, who said he visualises food the night before he goes to bed as well. You know, you kind of visualise, I don't know what your passion is, and what your, I don't know.
Oh, I love that. And how do you shop? I mean, I imagine you can't really just go into shops as much as you might like to. So how do you shop for clothes?
No, I love to go shopping. I'm often out and about. I like to be aware of what other people are doing. I'm also looking into retail myself at the moment, because we've just launched e-commerce, which has been incredibly successful. So the next step for me is retail. So I love to go out and just have a little look around and see what people are doing. So I do go out a lot, but I also love internet shopping as well, which is why I decided to launch e-commerce.
It was interesting, actually, yesterday in one of the first talks, we had a group of designers here who was saying that on the internet, it was much easier to sell sort of standout pieces, because when people are scrolling through the images, if it's just another kind of black skirt, it's much harder to register. Have you seen any of that kind of reflection of that?
I don't have anything to compare it to, because I don't have a standalone store yet, but obviously I do sell to other
stores,
shops.
yeah.
What I love about the internet is I can really have my customers see the brand through my eyes. They can shop and they can also look. So I have lots of really cool videos that I have personally shopped myself. So people really do get an insight into my brand. And it's interesting, I'm going to get to really know who my customer is and collect a database that's going to be really helpful when I do go into retail.
So in London, will you have a store?
Yes, this is where I want to have my first store. I mean, also, you know, about the internet as well. It also allows me to play. I've created a new little capsule collection, if you like, called Icon, which I sell on my site, which is exclusive to me, and they are signature dresses from previous collections that are my favourite, that I will bring back, that I will adapt the pattern, slightly change the fabrics and the colours, and I sell those exclusively on my site. So I can do that, I can play, I can have fun, and I can really reach out to my customer for the first time. So I'm really enjoying it, really enjoying it.
And if you have a bricks and mortar store, what kind of a store would you like to have? I mean, are there any stores that you admire? For instance, I think that the Ralph Lauren stores are amazing, for instance. I mean,
well, what I think is great about Ralph Lauren is that you really believe it's Ralph Lauren. Nothing else feels like Ralph Lauren. I'd like to do something that feels really new, really fresh, something a little conceptual, but not too much, something that my customer can relate to, but I also want her to believe it's me as well. So I'm looking into doing something a little bit different. For me, it feels like it's time to do something different. I get a little bit bored, you know, and shops, I don't know, I'm looking for something else now, and so hopefully I'll create that.
Are you a lark or an owl, a morning or an evening person?
In general?
In general.
A little bit of both, because I'm up early in the morning with the kids, getting the kids ready to school, going through times table tests and spelling tests and all that kind of thing, which I'm sure many mums out there are used to doing early in the morning. But then I'm also up quite late at night because I have a baby, and then I have a 14-year-old who refuses to go to bed, Brooklyn. So I'm up quite late and also up quite early, so I probably don't get enough sleep. But then at night, really, that's the only time that I get to do things myself, you know, pluck my eyebrows, do a face pack, those kind of things. So I don't get as much sleep as I would maybe like.
And travelling, I mean, you do a lot of travelling. Obviously, maybe slightly less now, you don't have to do transatlantic so much. But how do you deal with that? I'm really intrigued.
Dark glasses, Alex.
Okay.
You know, I don't travel so much now. That was one of the reasons why we decided to spend more time in London. Though we do, you know, we call LA our home, we call London our home. You know, we go between the two, which is the best of both worlds, really. We're very lucky. I don't travel so much. I don't like to. I go back and forth from New York for work. And I like to do lots of in-store events as well to really understand my retailer, what they want, and what my customer wants. So I have lots of events that I do around the world. It might be Canada, it might be Ireland. I was in China not too long ago. But other than the odd thing like that, I try to not travel too much, unless it's during school holidays when the children can come with me, because I don't like to leave the kids. You know, it's important. The children are my priority and always have been and always will be. So it's a bit of a juggling act. But
so where do you like holidaying as a family?
Well, we like to go back to LA because that is also our home and it's nice and sunny. The boys have friends there. We have friends there.
You like the wine country, don't you? I think
we like Napa.
Yeah.
Yes, we do like Napa. It's a lot of fun and it's really relaxed as well.
And France? You like France?
Yeah, well,
I guess
David's
you're spending
been in
a lot
Paris.
of time. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so he's been there, and it's been great having David in Paris because we've been able to travel backwards and forwards, and again, get the best of both worlds.
So you're incredibly disciplined. How were you always like that? Would your mum, who's also there, would she have said you were like that as a child, or is it something that you've kind of taught yourself?
I'm a perfectionist, and I just believe that anything you do, you should do to the best of your ability, you know, whatever that is. And I suppose I've always been that way. I mean, I'm ambitious. I'm not afraid of working hard. I'm a very positive person. You know, I'm optimistic. I'm creative, and I think you have to be disciplined. You have to be disciplined.
But do you ever kind of just think, you know what? I'm going to have another glass of wine. I'm going to go to bed too late. I don't care about the meeting in the morning.
I mean, I can't lie. It would probably be good for me to be a little bit more like that. But it would, because I'm really quite boring. But it would be good to be a bit more like that, really. But it's difficult when you are juggling, working and looking after the children and having a husband that travels a lot. So I have quite a lot to do myself. But I'm lucky, you know, I don't have a lot of help, but I do have a bit of help, which I'm very grateful for. You know, I have a nanny that helps me with the children, because I can't do it all myself. No,
obviously.
Yeah, but, yeah.
So, we're now going to take some, we asked for questions on Twitter for Victoria, so they're going to come up on the screen, and which is
very
behind.
Modern, isn't it?
Actually, you can see that.
Oh, okay, okay.
And
I should be used to a monitor,
well, no,
shouldn't I?
I'm not sure you can see that, unless you've got better eyes than me. But
no, I can.
Okay, good, good. Okay, I'm going to look at the big one. I have no idea where these have come from, because I don't know where Shiny Style 18M lives, but here we go. You've been snapped in flats recently. Have skyscraper heels had their day?
You know, no.
Victoria, I love your style and fashion. Would you ever consider doing for a high street collaboration? I think she's not English.
Right. At some point, but the business at the moment, I don't think now would be the right time for me to do that. You know, I did create my Victoria line because I wanted to offer my customer something that was a little less expensive. That's why I created the Victoria line, because the main line is all still handmade in London and is very expensive, just because it is. Getting things made in London is very expensive. With a Victoria line, I can do my production in Portugal, for example, which allows me to offer people a collection that isn't compromised fabric-wise or design-wise, but my customer can have Victoria Beckham clothes at a more affordable price. It's still quite expensive, but less expensive than the main line. So maybe one day that would be great. I think high street shopping is great. But I don't have any more time right now to do anything else. Oh,
Milosh 9021018.
Oh.
Oh, what's your favourite thing to do in your free time? What free time, right?
Well, what free time? But I like to hang out with the kids and David. You know, last week we were in Paris visiting David, and it was great to just have a bit of time to go to some museums and go to some great restaurants and just walk about, really.
Do you do any sport?
Do I do sport? Oh, I work out when I have time. I mean, I get up really early, 3 days a week, and I like to work out.
What kind of workout?
Well, I actually do Tracy Anderson. It's a bit of dancing on the treadmill, a few bottom exercises, you know. So I like to work out when I have the time. We've actually spent a bit of time travelling when in America. And we like, you know, I've done rock climbing with the children, some cycling, that kind of thing as well. And I don't wear heels for that.
You know, I love the idea you up a rock face with
in
those
trainers, yes, in trainers. But
it's hard to imagine.
It is hard to imagine, Alex, but yeah.
Rather you than me.
But it's fun to get out there and get some fresh air.
Okay, Amy Nicole 16M. How far ahead of starting a collection do you decide on the theme and inspiration? Well, we talked about that a bit at the beginning, didn't we, really?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I mean, I've just started working on pre-collections as well, so it's a constant cycle. You don't really
So is that pre-collection for both lines or just
for all 5 categories?
Including the eyewear, the accessories?
Absolutely. So it's a constant cycle, really.
How do you feel about that? There's a lot of debate at the moment about, well, 2 aspects actually. One is the amount that a designer has to produce in terms of capsule collections, pre-collections, and the other about the kind of the time scheduling, which means on one level everybody's saying, well, you should be able to buy off the catwalk, you should be able to buy quicker, some people are saying. And on the other hand, other people are saying, which I have more sympathy for, that it's ridiculous that clothes aren't in the stores in season. So in London, you soon won't be able to buy a summer dress, even though we haven't had any summer yet.
Yeah.
How do you feel about those?
I mean, I love the concept of buy now, wear now, because, you know, it's difficult. Who wants to buy a winter coat in August? So I do love the idea of buy now, wear now. But when you're selling clothes to lots of different territories, you know, it's quite difficult because what you're going to...
different things.
You need different things. I mean, for me, it's quite exciting doing a pre-collection. It's a lot more work, but it means that I can have product in store for a longer period. So I'm excited by it, but it is a lot more work. I think my production team are about to kill themselves because you know, it's tough, but it's what you do when you're growing a business. At some point, you have to take the plunge. You've got to do it. And so I'm going to do it now, but in quite a soft way, in a small way, in a very small way.
Sophie Verbeeker 3H, as an entrepreneur yourself, what's the best advice can you give to staring entrepreneurs? I think starting.
This shows that we're really international, Alex, because these are obviously...
it's Sophie's choice.
Right. You know, I think that you've got to follow your gut instinct.
It also shows that they're genuine, otherwise we would have corrected the spelling.
Right. Or I wrote it myself. You know, there's always that possibility as well. I think you've just got to, you know, I believe in being ambitious, aiming high. So I would just say follow your instinct. You know, if you have a passion, then that's great. You should follow that. But you should also be really focused as well. I'm very, very focused. I mean, with all my categories, I didn't launch everything at the same time. Everything, I enter into a new category when I can't find what I want on the market currently. And I've brought the other categories in when my CEO tells me that I can, and when I know that I can do it properly. There's still a lot of focus with every single category. I didn't try and do everything at the same time. I add things when it is financially viable to do that. So I think a lot of it is about focus as well.
Would you bring in a luxury fragrance at some point, do you think?
Definitely, at some point, I think that would definitely be a great thing to do. It's just finding the right time and the right house to go with.
And you need partners, yeah, for that, don't you?
And to make sure that you're with a partner that is going to give you the control that I would want. You know, I don't have any licensing deals. Everything I own myself with David and with Simon Fuller. So I don't want to give up any control. I mean, I literally dot every single I.
She is a control freak.
In a nice way, though. I'm nice. I am nice. Everyone thinks I'm going to be such a cow. They really do. I get it, because I think the same when I see the pictures. So, you know. Okay, I have to put it out there, okay? It's very different.
Okay, Anmol Kang. Victoria, as a child, who was your role model?
Oh, goodness. I mean, who was my role model?
Did you have one?
I mean, I've always looked up to women that fashion-wise are inspiring, but, you know, I mean, without wanting to make my mum cry, you know, my mum was my role model. My mum loved fashion and was always very glamorous and, you know, has been married to my dad for a million years and was looking after 3 children. And, you know, I think that's really inspiring. It's hard, you know, it's hard being a working mum, but it's really hard being at home with kids all day, every day as well. And I have so much respect for women in general. So, my mum, don't cry too much.
Okay, we've done this really. Which designers' clothes do you love wearing? So I'm going to go on. Yeah, good question. What do you think are the main barriers to women in the workplace?
There's more pressure on women. You know, when a man gets up and goes to work and leaves the children at home, well, society says that's fine, that's what a man does. When a woman can't do it. You have to make sure that everything is organised at home and that the children are okay. It's very, very different for men and women. But I think there are lots of strong women that are very powerful out there, working and holding down a family.
Yeah, as a boss yourself, how do you feel about the other women working for you and things like maternity leave and flexible working? I mean, what's your kind of feeling about that? I mean, presumably you kind of need people there when you need them.
I do, but I really think that if you're focused, then you can work around any situation. I have quite a few women, you know, my head of sales, if you like. She's great at what she does. She has 3 children, and I know that she's going to have to leave at a certain time every day. But what she does when she's at work and her focus is remarkable. It can all be done. I have lots of people that have had to leave because they've needed maternity leave, and it's fine, it's doable. As long as you plan and you have the focus, I think anything is possible. And we love to have children at work as well. I've always got mine running around. I think it's a really good energy to have.
A creche?
Kind of. I have an office that is so small that when Harper was a baby, I had one of those swingy chairs, and she'd swing one way and bang into a load of fabric. Then she'd swing the other way and bang into a load of samples. So it was a small creche. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of working mums working where I work. And we plan very well.
Hold on. What effect would you like to have on your... Yeah, what effect would you like to have on your customers with your designs? I guess, how do you want people to feel wearing your clothes?
I really love women, and I want to make women feel good about themselves. I want them to feel empowered and confident and beautiful. And people do say that when they put on my clothes. They do. They feel really, really great. A lot of thought goes into everything that I design to make a woman feel the best that she can feel, with the seaming details, and I want someone to feel good from a 360-degree angle. And they do. That's what a lot of my customers say. My clothes make them feel great. I really like women. I think that there needs to be more women supporting women. Not necessarily in the fashion industry, because like I said before, I think now is a great time for female designers. But in general, there is a lot of women who maybe don't support other women so much as they should.
I think we've done that. Okay.
Aisha Cindy 8M, what advice can you give me on getting into the fashion world?
Oh, goodness. I mean, I have lots of people come and work with me as interns that really get an insight into the industry and how you make clothes. I still make a lot of my clothes actually in my studio. I think that you've got to be prepared to really start from the bottom up, you know. And like I said, I have some people that started off as interns, literally making the tea and coffee, that are now, you know, very high up in my sales department or my marketing department. So I think you've got to really be prepared to start at the bottom up. Put in a lot of hours, work really hard, but you've got to love what you do. You've got to be passionate about what you do.
Michael Kors yesterday was asked that question by somebody, and his advice was that you should try and get some experience in retail, which I thought was quite interesting. You know, that if you're actually there, he started selling clothes in a New York store, and I think that is also another quite good route. Oh,
absolutely, and that's why I love to go to stores that I sell my clothes in, and I love to speak to my customer. That's why I love to do those events. They're not press events. It's literally me and the customer in the fitting room with me finding out what does she want, how does she feel, what can I give her next season, how can I improve on what I'm doing. So I think that's great advice, to actually work in a store as well.
And when you do that, do you find that women are very insecure about their shapes when you're talking to them about the clothes, that, you know, what they're looking for is a kind of a help to make their figures better?
I think women are always going to feel a little bit insecure. I think there's a lot of pressure on women to look a certain way, and I want to help a woman feel that way. I want to make her feel good about herself and confident in her own body.
Jean the Cat Lovers. What was, in your opinion, has been the most memorable Victoria Beckham magazine cover?
Definitely Vogue.
Yeah, it has to be British Vogue.
I mean, I
Vogue.
dreamed of being on the cover of Vogue, and yeah, I've actually done 7 or 8 Vogue covers around the world, which, I mean,
we were the first.
You were the first. I mean, everybody who loves fashion loves Vogue, so I'd definitely say my Vogue cover.
I remember that first one, the Nick Knight one, was absolutely beautiful, actually. All the kind of twinkly, glittery things around you. And everyone was like, you know, what you said about preconceptions, everybody was really surprised.
Yeah.
Do you remember all the comments when you were on the cover? And then at the same time, everybody just thought, it's so interesting what you've done. Absolutely.
I mean, Vogue work with obviously the best photographers, the best hair, the best makeup, the best styling. And so, I mean, it's exciting. It's the cover of Vogue, and it's me, who'd have thought, you know? And that's
Have you learned from doing so many shoots about actually styling yourself in any way? Do you find that it sort of helped you learn a bit about makeup and hair and...
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, working with the best professionals in the industry is so inspiring. It really is. And it's fun. I love doing shoots even now, because for me now it's almost like a collaboration when I work with a photographer and a hair and a makeup. So it's a lot of fun.
Victoria, thank you very much.
Is that
been great having you.
Have I talked for that long?
Yeah, no, we're out of time, I'm afraid.
Well, thank you so much, everybody, for coming. I really wasn't thinking there'd be so many people, and thank you for inviting me.
Well, we didn't tell you, that's why.
I appreciate it.
I know. Said no.
Well, I might have sung. I might have got up and sung you a song. That would have been a worry. There you go. That's why she didn't tell me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We go up that way. Yeah.